The latest Android feature drop came this week and brought a slew of new features and fixes that we're still digging through even today. Meanwhile, Samsung surprised everyone by formally announcing the wacky Galaxy Z TriFold, which does not fold 3 times, as its name would suggest. Finally, there's a growing problem around the world being dubbed smartphone pinky. What's up with smartphones and pinkies? Well, stay tuned, I'll get to that. For now, I'm C. Scott Brown, and it's time for a quick roundup of the biggest tech news that you need to know about. Earlier this week, we saw the launch of Android 16 QPR2. This is a notable release for a few reasons. First, it comes not long after the most recent Pixel drop, which is the last one of 2025. Second, it's the first quarterly platform release under Google's new way of doing things, which will see it move away from a single yearly release of Android to more frequent releases that bring you more features at a faster pace. So, there are a lot of new features in here. Some are exclusive to Android 16, and some are for all modern Android phones regardless of platform version. Let me start with some highlights for Android 16. First, and most exciting, icons are more customizable than ever before. It used to be that icons were just circles, but now you can choose from 4 other shapes, including square, 4-sided cookie, 7-sided cookie, and the gumdrop style one called arch. This adds a little more personal flair to your icons. Also, Android 16 will now automatically theme icons that don't support Material You's theming system. So, apps from companies like Walmart, Costco, McDonald's, and others that normally wouldn't theme to your wallpaper will now do so. It doesn't look as nice when they are actually themed, but this is definitely better than nothing. Now, you might be thinking, what about icon packs, Scott? Why can't we natively install icon packs? Well, that's not possible with this new QPR. Honestly, I don't think that's ever going to happen. If you want icon packs, you need to use a third-party launcher. I think it's just going to be like that forever. Another cool feature for Android 16 is a built-in expanded dark theme. This will create a dark theme version of apps that don't natively support one. Previously, you've been able to do this by playing around in developer options, but now it's as easy as going into Android settings and turning on the expanded mode. Another cool tweak is the ability to turn off Android 16's new background blur. This came with the Material 3 Expressive release earlier this year, and some people love it, but some people hate it. Google listened and is now giving you the option to reduce blur effects. Google might be doing this because of the backlash against Apple's liquid glass design, which I feel like everyone hates. I didn't hear the same vitriol for liquid glass thrown at these blur effects, but hey, if you don't like them, you can turn them off now. Let me quickly touch on a few things coming to all Android phones now, not just those on Android 16. In Google Messages, if you get added to a group chat, you'll now be asked if you really want to join it. If it's a spam invite, you can immediately report it and block it without being auto-added to it first, which I think is great. Also, circle to search in Google Messages will help you fight scams. If you get a text that looks weird, just circle it and you can find out how likely it is that it's a scam. This kind of stuff is very, very cool. You can also now give a reason for your call if you're using Google's official dialer. Basically, if you have an urgent call to your mom, you can mark it as urgent when you start the call, and your mom will see that it has an urgent flag. This is a small thing, but it might make a huge difference in an emergency situation. Or, when your girlfriend just dumped you and you need your mom's secret recipe for birthday cake so you can eat your feelings. Hey, it happens. There are a ton of new features that I don't have time to cover here. I'll leave a link in the description so you can get all the info you need for this latest Android drop. While you're down there, there are also links to our other channels. There's my solo channel, which mostly focuses on Pixel stuff. There's also Android Authority's second channel, which goes over leaks and other up-to-the-minute things happening. That's also where you'll find the Authority Insights podcast, hosted by my buddy Mishal Rahman. Definitely check that out if you haven't yet. Our next story today is all about the Samsung Galaxy Z TriFold. This launch came out of nowhere. I mean, we knew the phone was coming and had seen plenty of leaks about it, but we had no idea Samsung was going to formally launch it so close to the end of the year. But it's real and coming to the United States in Q1 of 2026. Now, the name TriFold suggests that it, folds 3 times. But that's not true. It folds twice. So really it should be the Galaxy Z bifold. Naming aside, the phone looks really cool. It's basically a Galaxy Z Fold 7 that has an extra panel so it folds out into a 10-inch tablet instead of an 8-inch squarish big phone thing. I need to mention Huawei here because they technically did this first. The Huawei Mate XT landed earlier this year and looks very similar to the Galaxy Z TriFold. Of course, Huawei's phone has much more limited availability and doesn't support Google Apps, so it has its limitations. Inside the Galaxy Z TriFold, it's basically a dead ringer for the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It has the same processor, the Snapdragon 8 Elite. It has the same camera system, including the 200 megapixel primary shooter. It even charges at the same 45 watts with a cable and 15 watts wirelessly. However, it does have a few things that the Galaxy Z Fold 7 doesn't. First, it has more RAM at 16 gigabytes as standard. The Galaxy Z Fold 7 has 16 gigabytes of RAM if you opt for the 1 terabyte version, but all the other versions only have 12 gigs of RAM. Speaking of storage, the Galaxy Z TriFold only comes with either 512 gigabytes or 1 terabyte of storage, which is pretty sweet. The battery is also bigger in the Galaxy Z TriFold, about 22% larger, which is pretty significant considering the battery life of the Galaxy Z Fold 7 was one of its weakest attributes. Of course, it's not all in the Galaxy Z TriFold's favor. The phone is obviously much thicker when folded up and weighs a lot more too. It's also probably going to cost a lot more. Unfortunately, Samsung hasn't divulged how much the phone will cost in the United States, but we know it costs 3,590,400 Korean won, which is about $2,500. As such, it's reasonable to assume this phone will cost between $2,500 and $3,000 when it lands next year. If you're excited about this, Samsung is already offering a ton of perks and freebies for folks who pre-order it. This includes 6 months of free access to Google AI Pro and a 50% one-time display repair discount. There's more information on this in the links below. Our final story today is all about pinkies. No, not baby mice, pinkies, the smallest finger on your hand. A growing problem among smartphone users is a condition being called smartphone pinky. It comes from the habit people have of holding a phone in one hand using their pinky finger to support it. As phones get larger and heavier, it was only a matter of time before this started to negatively impact your tiniest digit. We posted an article about this after one of our staff members experienced the phenomenon firsthand. See what I did there? Anyway, we ran a poll asking about this, and it turns out a lot of you hold your phones in the same way, with your pinky underneath to support the weight. It also turns out that many of you have smartphone pinky issues. That article has dozens of comments from people talking about pain they've experienced from this habit, with one person saying that they think this has led to a recurring pain in their shoulder blade. There are also lots of comments from people saying that they are actively trying to change their habits because of the pain smartphone pinky causes. If you have anything you want to input on this, I'll leave a link to the article in the description. Be sure to vote in the poll too. Anyway, that's it for this roundup. If you want to dive deeper into these stories, be sure to check out all the links down below. Remember to like and subscribe so you'll be notified as soon as the next roundup goes live. See you all soon.